Let's get ready to rumble!
Welcome to Boxing Unwrapped.
It's Boxing Unwrapped, the boxing podcast that sometimes feels like a 40-pound costume on your shoulders. I'm Ryan.
The show that's weighing you down and tiring out your skinny little legs. I'm Andrew.
And
my legs are well rested, thank you very much.
They're so well rested. Welcome back to What the F's the Boxing News, boxing podcast that gives you all the shit that you need to know and some of the shit you don't. Andy, do you want to tell the good people what they've got in store this week?
If I can remember, yes, I think we should tell them what's coming up. We are going to talk about what F are the results from last weekend. Was it shocking? Was it predictable? Was it that interesting? It certainly was. We will also, and there wasn't just one fight, we'll also preview the upcoming fights this weekend. There's a little bit of random news. Some of it's pretty high-end random news compared to what we normally fill this section with. And we can round off with a little bit of listener corner. So we're aiming, ladies and gents, for a slightly truncated episode this week. But we know how that normally goes.
No, it never goes that way. So let's dive into what the F are the results from last weekend.
In the big one, Ryan, let's talk about the big one.
Oh, do you mean Mr. Charles Martin versus Mr. Gerald Washington?
We know we've been doing this too long where we basically don't give the other person a chance to steal the joke they were going to. So
yeah, exactly.
Yes, that's exactly the fight I was talking about. The chaps on the BBC podcast were fairly critical in terms of like, this is the best America has to offer. Tee-hee-hee.
I know.
They're game though. They are game.
They are game. And Gerald Washington is a big lad. He's a unit. Like, he's an absolute unit. But Charles Martin's back, baby.
He's back. He is back. He's quite a big lad as well. I think he must be 6'3", 6'4". He's not just a diddler.
No, he is pretty big. He's 6'5" according to his box rec, yeah. And like, you know, he's got those dregs making him look mean. He's got a pretty big reach, but he has lost to some of the best of them in the business.
He has, but he won this one. Martin was victorious. 6th round stoppage. Boom.
I don't know. I mean, you know. I mean, we can get onto it a bit later, but I could see him fighting a. Oh, who would he fight? He would fight like a Joseph Parker, maybe. You know, maybe it might be too good for Joseph Parker, but he could fight. I know. I'm being cheeky. I'm being facetious. And we also had Emmanuel Navarrete versus Heo Santisma, and that went the way that we had mentioned it would go about 2 weeks ago.
In the same way that you could be confident that like Brazil would beat Andorra at football most of the time. Totally.
Now, if it was against Scotland, you'd have to be a bit like, ooh, Andorra, they're a banana skin, that one. Every fucking time. Every time. But yeah, so I mean that went the way it did. I just, you know what? I think if I was in the States and I was to buy this card, I would be really disappointed. Do you know what I think? I think maybe they thought because so many casual people will watch it, there's absolutely no point in us putting on like a deep card. Maybe, I don't know.
What do you not think? If they were being sensible, what they should have said, let's think about this. What is the fight or two that we can put on that's going to have like maybe something like a kind of crossover appeal, so that like you're going to get some people who would maybe be on the fence reasonably interested, but then you're capturing like more of an interest segment. Like, so say for example, you could have had some. I don't know, like Mexican fighter or something, you know, like a kind of big name Mexican fighter, Mexican American fighter or something on it, something like that, who would have been captured a bit more of the audience who might have been on the fence with the Wilder one, or some top champ guys from the lower weight divisions. I mean, you can't just reel out Navarrete, put him on every card against a make weight fighter, and then like Martin and Washington. I mean, come on. It really chuffed me off, because a lot of pay-per-views don't do this, and I think if you're doing a pay-per-view, we've talked about it before, you have a responsibility to put on a decent undercard. You're taking people for mugs when you put on like one decent fight on the card. That's just not. It's not on. It's not cricket.
No, it's not. No.
So, shame on you.
Well,
I was just going to say, now this is all totally unconfirmed, but I think we spoke about this before, but I read stuff, and again, I'm not sure how true it was, but given the amount of money they'd spent on promoting the fight, for the networks to break even, they had to do 2 million pay-per-view buys, which is what Arm was predicting the fight was doing.
Yeah.
Now, taking it with a pinch of salt, there's a lot of stuff on Twitter saying it's done like about 800,000. There is one that source, that journalist, is it Coppinger, Mike Coppinger? I think I think, don't quote me on this, I think there was a Twitter from him saying his sources were saying 800 or 850,000 buys, which is nearly 2.5 times what the first fight did. It's the most for a heavyweight fight for a long time, but it's not 2 million buys.
It's not 2 million buys. It's really not. Like, that is, you're really like fucking risking your house doing shit like that, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean,
can't afford that. You can't afford to do that.
Yeah, I think that seems like a lot. So what was it, like $80? Mm-hmm. And it did 800,000, say. So that's $64 million in pay-per-view, and then the gate was like 20 million. And then whatever other money, it's not that much. By the time you've paid for a whole bunch of stuff and the money's all divided up and stuff, it doesn't seem that good, really. And you've paid the fighters and stuff. I don't think there's going to be that much left, is there? Did Joshua not get like 50 million for his fight in Saudi?
Yeah, he did, yeah.
Well, I think that would make him officially the
big dog,
the gold standard daddy. Then I would have thought, financially, if not in the ring.
Well, the thing is though that like the Sheikh just found that down the back of the city.
He said, "I'll pay you whatever I have in the bathroom." And he happened to have like 50 million in the bathroom.
Yeah, totally. Oh, right. Well, then let's talk about the main event: Deontay Wilder versus Tyson Fury. Now, the one thing I would like to talk about, is we went on a little bit about how heavy Tyson Fury was, and it turned out that he drank 16 pints of water before the weigh-in.
What?
Yeah, have you not seen this?
No.
He said he drank 16 pints of water before the weigh-in. Because he wanted Deontay Wilder to make him feel like he was out of shape. So like he just kind of, it's one of these mind game things.
Could he not just have had like straps and weights to him or something rather than drinking 16 pints of water?
Yeah, well, you would think so. He
looked. I think that's maybe bullshit. He looked kind of in similar condition than
he looked fleshy.
He looks fleshy, yeah.
But he's never gonna look jacked. I don't think that he has any thought about building any form of muscle whatsoever.
But do you know, if you look at him, I've said this before, if you look at him when he fought Klitschko, he's actually in quite good, he's not fleshy there. If you look at his physique when he fought Klitschko before all the other stuff, he's not fleshy. He's not like an Adonis, he's not carved out of stone, but he's pretty trim. He's a lot more trim than he is now. Anyway, I don't know. I don't think, is he not, how has he been able to, how have they been able to report that? I thought he had his nose up a prostitute's coke-filled bottom.
Totally, a $30, the $30 hooker, I think is what he wanted, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because his rule is the prostitute has to cost less than the cocaine. That's the golden rule.
That's the golden rule. It's mad, huh? But, I mean, I've seen some quite interesting things about the way in which he was punching. So it made it look like, in fact, he did, with a boxing glove, obviously you put the glove on, you've got your hand in the glove, like in the thumb piece. But he seemed to like not, so like the glove would bend when he was just like jabbing. So he was like basically holding his fist within the gloves, rather than like within like the form of the glove, if that makes sense.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah.
So why would he have done that, or like how would that have come to pass?
Well, I think it's because it maybe throws Deontay Wilder off a little bit, and maybe it like, I don't know, maybe there's not as much padding in the wrist parts of the glove.
Is this been verified, or is this one of these like internet hoax things?
It's I don't know if it was a hoax, but it was a slow motion video I watched, just because, obviously he has that kind of weird flicking jab, but sometimes you're seeing it and like it seems like the glove is going like more than 90 degrees. Like to the like, it's just weird, But but you never know, because you have all of these like Deontay Wilder conspiracy theorists who are like, oh well, he he rabbit punched him and that's illegal and blah 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 and all that kind of shit, and you just kind of wonder like, like. That's boxing, man. That's the way boxing is. Like, sometimes people get hit in the back of the head, don't they?
They do. I don't think there was any question that the first knockdown that was like an illegal punch. It was kind of on his ear, though. That was the punch that bust his ear open, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was.
So I think that was all right. But do you want to? So what was your sort of takeaways from the fight, or what were you? How would you break it down? What did you think?
I think I would break it down as Deontay Wilder seemed incredibly sluggish. Maybe he couldn't deal with the weight that he'd gained, but at no point did he manage to throw back anything meaningful to Tyson Fury the entire fight. And
he landed like two or three right hands, I've noticed.
3 right hands, yeah, exactly. Which, I mean, I know he always wants to throw those mega power punches and knock people out, but like in the last fight, he seemed to be a little bit more competitive. Whereas Tyson Fury absolutely dictated the distance at all points of the fight. Mm-hmm. Like, he did exactly what Ben Davison in that video said. He's like, well, he's going to come in close and he's going to tie him up, and then he's going to push him back, and then he's going to punch him a lot, and then he's going to tie him up. And like that was exactly what he did, wasn't it? It was almost like play for play as I was watching. I was like, fucking hell! It's like Ben Davison predicted the future, And I think this is probably the worst Deontay Wilder I think we've ever seen, to be honest.
Yeah.
But it doesn't take anything away from Tyson Fury's victory, obviously, because he demolished Deontay Wilder, like took him to pieces. Mm-hmm. I mean, he was blood. And also, I do have to say, what the fuck was the thing with the licking of the blood? Right?
Does he actually make contact?
I don't know. There was part of me when I was watching it, I thought he was kind of like up in his ear, just going like la 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 la, like to try and wind him up or something. But then I was like, dude, that's the one with the perforated eardrum. He's not hearing a fucking thing out of that bad boy right now.
You could be ringing a bell and that it wouldn't register.
Totally,
Do you know what was interesting was when I watched this. I watched it back a couple of times. The first time I watched it with American commentary, and the American commentators at the bit when Fury does the licking of the blood are like, "Oh my God, what is he doing? Did he really just lick his blood like that?"
I watched a bit, like it was American commentary. It was an American commentary stream, and the guy's like, he said in the build-up to the fight that he wanted to taste Wilder's blood, and I think that's exactly what he's doing. And I was like, fuck off.
And then in the British commentary, they just don't mention it. They just sort of like gloss over the fact that he's like slurping blood off Wilder's neck. They just completely like go, oh, that's obviously not noteworthy. Let's not talk about that. It's unbelievable. It was so interesting, the spin or the perception that the commentators had on. If anyone's not done this, it's really quite interesting. So if you can listen to it, obviously for some of the streams that you might find, you would have to be Russian to listen to them. There does seem to be a lot of Russian streams. But if you contrast an American stream commentary versus the UK one, and I think certainly on the TV, they've put the official rerun of it on non-pay-per-view now, BT have. Certainly, I don't know if it's just if you have to be a BT customer, but certainly I watched it like on the TV. Anyway, but the spin that the commentators put on it are like is kind of vastly different.
Yeah, I agree. It always happens that way, though, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's interesting how pronounced it is, but yeah. So you were impressed with Fury?
I was impressed with Fury, actually. I think he went in and I was surprised at how good he was in terms of, I thought he was going to be a lot more sluggish, but he dictated the fight the entire time. He roughed Deontay Wilder up. He didn't allow Deontay Wilder to get into any form of rhythm whatsoever from the moment go. And, I mean, was surprisingly heavy-handed at points, you know? And like worked the body as well to drop Deontay Wilder with a body shot. I think very impressive, actually. You know, and I think it does kind of show the level that Tyson Fury's at, and does it expose Deontay Wilder? Now, like the thing that I don't want to fall into the trap of is Tyson Fury came out and said, like, right afterwards, he was like, after I beat Klitschko, everyone went on about how Klitschko was rubbish. Now I've beaten Deontay Wilder, everyone's going to go on about how Deontay Wilder is rubbish. But we've been saying Deontay Wilder's rubbish for years. That's what I want to say.
I think. Well, I think there's a reason why Wilder has always had such cherry-picked opponents. I think you can make a case to say this is the first time he's fought like a high-level opponent in his career. Because you say Fury the first time round was like really still in a recovery phase. It depends if you count that or not, and he was totally outboxed, but although he did manage to lamp him. The question mark over the last few years, Ortiz has not fought a world level fighter. So it's really difficult to judge really if he's any use. Yeah, because his best win was Bryant Jennings like 3 or 4 years ago when he looked destructive. But even then, Jennings isn't like world class. But that was 3 or 4 years ago, and since then we know he's clearly in decline because he's like 50 years old. So like if you say, well, he's probably a bit rubbish, and he nearly beat Wilder the first time around. And all other people he's fought are not really like world class, even within the current generational thing. So like the first time Wilder's fought like an in good shape world class opponent, he's been absolutely destroyed. So part of me thinks people managing him have kind of known that as well, and they go, well, you're kind of getting probably towards the end of your career now. You might as well try and make a big fight and fight someone live. And if you can organise it so that you at least get a rematch because you're super destructive, and this one is like, oh, well, now you're getting 3. How coincidental. You're now guaranteed 3 of these fights. I know. So it's kind of like maybe it's his last hurrah. But I have a feeling that, you know how where you think, is it this or is it this? And the truth normally lies in between. And it's like, I think Fury did put on a bit of a masterclass, and he is like, clearly has tremendous boxing skills. I'm not buying the argument that all of a sudden Fury is a heavyweight wrecking ball. I'm just not buying it. I'm not buying it. He's not been heavy-handed his whole career. He's never knocked out people like concussively. And he like lamped Wilder, and he was so damaged so quickly. So I think you think, well, Wilder's never really beat like a prime opponent. Fury's never been very, very heavy-handed, although he's always been a very, very good boxer. So the conclusion that I've come to is that his right hand aside, Wilder is probably made of paper mache. That's my conclusion, is that I think he's actually has zero punch resistance. And that's kind of backed up by him getting like knocked out in the amateurs, by the fact that boy Harold Sconiers, which no one's ever heard of, and the footage has been removed, blah, 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 early in his professional career knocked him down. Mm-hmm. You know,
and Ortiz
with like really one punch, and it didn't even. It was kind of like, you know, I think, well, really should it have caused that much damage? So I think Wilder has very, very little punch resistance, because there were points where when Fury jabbed him, he looked like rocked just by like a jab. Fury's heavy, but he's, like I say, he's not that heavy-handed. And there were jabs which were completely like knocking him over. And from the first punch or two that Fury landed, Wilder was buckling. Like, he looked all over the place as soon as he was hit. It was like, I think he's got almost no punch resistance.
Well, and he did the thing that every kind of boxer does, is he hinted to problems in camp. Mm-hmm. You know, which I think is always a bit of a cheap one, right? And then he does the whole, my fucking suit was too heavy, so I was knackered by the time I got in there. I was like, what the fuck is that, man? I mean, that's the lamest excuse.
So I've seen a couple of things about this which I think are quite interesting. So he's saying that the suit was like 40 odd pounds, right? Uh-huh. Deontay, Dillian Whyte shared a video, I don't know if you saw this on Twitter, where it's from I don't know how long ago, but Wilder's being interviewed, and in it he's saying, you know, quite often I train and I wear like a vest for extra weight when I'm training, and the vest is like 40 pounds. That's literally what he says in the video. And of course, Dillian Whyte's loving this, so he's absolutely saying, well, look at this joker. And the other thing I was thinking about with this is, I was speaking for, this is a world exclusive, because I don't think anyone else is going to say this about the whole jacket thing, right? This is going to be, we're the only boxing pod that has this exclusive scientific insight. My son, right, weighs 19 he weighs 19 kilos, which is, funnily enough, a bit more than 40 pounds. It's probably like 41, 42 pounds. Now, when we go for a walk, quite often he will say to me, actually, Daddy, I'm a bit tired. And he's not really. He just knows I'm a mug, right?
Yeah, of course.
So the longest I've carried him is for, with like a couple of breaks, is for like, on my shoulders, is over an hour. Okay?
Right, yeah.
And I've said, during that, I would say, like, I walk for like about 20 minutes carrying him. And it's a lot longer than a ring walk, I should say, but about 20 minutes I'd carry him for. And then I would get sore, and I'd say, like, I'll just have a little, we'll just stop for a minute. I'll put you down, and I'll pick you back up, and we'll carry on. Mm-hmm. And the bit of you that gets sore and the bit of you that gets tired from carrying a child on your shoulders is like your shoulders and the muscles that connect your shoulders to your neck. Is that your delts? Is that what they're called? No, what are they called?
No, your traps. The ones
traps.
Yeah.
So your traps are the ones that get sore. What doesn't get sore or tired at all are your legs. And basically, if you think about the weight of that jacket, how it will sit on you, it's the weight's in the same place, and the helmet, the weight's all in your shoulders and on your traps. Mm-hmm. None of it's... So I did it for an hour, and my legs were absolutely fine. Like, I didn't feel fatigued at all. And I know this is going to surprise a lot of people, but I'm actually not a world-class athlete.
Are you not?
I'm not. I'm close. I would say national level. And my legs were not at all tired from doing this. Like, not in the slightest. It's just an utter nonsense. And that is me scientifically proving how much of a nonsense what he said is, because it is not your legs that get tired. Put on heavy weights on your shoulders, and it is your shoulders, funnily enough, that will get tired, not your legs, and not after like 10 or 15 minutes of wearing it, and not when you're like a world-class athlete that weighs 16.5 stone. It's utter nonsense. His legs might have been tired for whatever reason, but it wasn't because he was wearing a jacket. It's the worst PR piece in the world.
Well, and I mean, the other thing that I don't quite understand as well is like how his training team don't have like a system in place where who throws the towel in and who doesn't.
Yeah, that was weird.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's been officially announced, but I've certainly read lots of reports saying that Breland is being let go. He's firing him. The guy that threw the tyrant, because he can't like reconcile it, because he was so clear on, I am warrior, I am leader, I must die in ring rather than quit. It's like, okay, well, you weren't that far off, to be fair.
I know, totally. You would have never heard again, to be perfectly honest.
He was so. I thought so. I think in his mind, the idea behind doing that was because he was saying about how important it was, because it was like, what was it? It's the like Black celebration.
Oh, Black History Month is February, yeah.
So he was saying it was like a tribute to that, and that was the most important thing, which is obviously just trying to like kind of curry favour and show how, committed to a cause and how noble he is. But I mean, the problem with it is that the reasoning makes absolutely no sense. Like, as I explained, in terms of the legs being tired, it's totally inconsistent. But he's gone, well, hopefully people will fixate on that part of it, and therefore I'm like a good guy, and that's what proves to be important. But I mean, he's come out with a lot of excuses, has he? He's got them coming thick and fast.
He's got a new one every.
Yeah, I remember the other thing that he said was that at no point during the fight did Fury hurt him.
Oh, I know. I wasn't hurt. I was just tired.
Yeah, well,
I was tired.
Why did he keep falling down so much then?
Why are your ears bleeding?
Why is your face looking like that? See, at the end of the sixth, he had his head like buried in the towel, and his trainer like Diaz was trying to talk to him, and it was like. It looked like he should have been pulled then, I thought. Yeah. He was whenever Fury wasn't within punching range, he was actually like leaning over to rest on the ropes, and his feet were like all over he could barely walk, he could barely stand up. I mean, he was absolutely gone. Like, it's just one thing occurred. Sorry, go on.
Now, I mean, the thing that I think is quite interesting now is obviously the way in which the rematch shit goes down, because there's chat going on now that it's going to be a summer fight, right? Summer. I don't understand why they would do this in the summer when last time they waited like 18 months or something to do it. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. Obviously, Eddie Hearn is wetter than an otter's pocket, because he wants the Fury fight with AJ, because he knows it's going to make a fucking ton of money. Right? He just knows that there's just like money, like the money tree is about to fucking like come into maturity. For this fight, win, lose, who gives a fuck? Everybody's going to be mega rich for the rest of their fucking days.
Just pray it's like an amazing barnstorm and they can do a trilogy. Like, that's what everyone's just hoping for.
Totally. But can we just spare a moment's thought for poor Dillian White, right? I mean, that boy, I mean, Eddie Hearn is his manager, and like the first thing he says is, "Oh well, we've got to set up the AJ fight then, don't we?"
I love the way whenever he does that, like Dillian White straight on the Twitter going, "What the fuck about me?
Totally.
You were supposed to promote me too, you prick."
Totally. You know,
their business meetings must be like, like these meetings where everyone's just like, really uncomfortable. Every time they speak, it must be like that.
I cannot believe that Dillian White is still with Matchroom at points. No. I'm just like, find someone else, man. Because like, you're never going to get a look in while AJ's on the scene. Not properly.
No.
You know?
You're never going to be number one. It's a shame. Poor wee Dillian.
Poor wee Dillian. You know, he can't catch a break, that boy.
He's fighting Povetkin next, apparently. And apparently that's just about a done deal, but anyway.
Yeah.
I had one more thing to say about the fight.
Yeah. Go on.
So thank you. So there were quite a lot of comments that formed the same conclusion in terms of, basically, I think you can almost discount everything that happens after the third round, because when he knocks him down and he busts his ear, like his equilibrium is kind of screwed, and then on he's just like a human punch bag because he's kind of completely incapacitated. And it's just, I'm not saying Fury was dominant by that point anyway, and I think it seemed vastly unlikely. Even with that punch, I don't think, even if it hadn't done that, I think Wilder was just so out of his depth. But after that, he's just like standing there ready to be hit, and he can't balance, and his feet are all over the place, and he's wobbling, and he's got no power, so therefore he can't punch, he can't keep Fury off him, etc., etc. And I thought there's quite an interesting parallel between that and the first Joshua Ruiz fight.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Like the way that Joshua didn't seem to be on all cylinders and just kind of lost.
Yeah, because it wasn't to his ear, but the punch on that like disrupted his equilibrium, and then he was completely on like bendy legs the whole fight after that, and he was a bit more game than Wilder was, but he basically couldn't. There was just no way for him to recover. He couldn't balance. He couldn't punch. He couldn't defend himself properly, and Wilder was the exact same. So it was a shame because, in a way, for them both in those circumstances, because people don't think, oh, well, I'm not going to count the beating that you took. People still, they see the beating and just go, well, you just got fucking beaten up.
Yeah.
You just got completely fucking destroyed. Whereas, in reality, yes, they did, but it's one pivotal moment that allowed that to happen. Without that moment, the outcome might have been, in both cases, at least a bit, if not entirely different. So it is kind of like people are building a narrative based on what's happened, but that could have been totally different if one particular moment had gone a bit different. In terms of if those punches had landed in slightly different places and not caused the same amount of damage, maybe the course of the fights would have been quite vastly different. So you have to at least think of that as a possibility when you're then sort of being definitive about this is what happened. It was a complete domination. It was always going to be like that. Well, hold on a minute, because it was one event that kind of started the path down that road in both occasions. So I thought it was quite interesting that parallel was kind of there. But anyway, that was my point.
Well, then, shall we move on then to what the F are the fights this weekend? There's a nice card.
It's a really nice fights. Really nice card. Really nice card.
I'm just a little bit upset that it's not in the UK, actually. I would much prefer this to be a UK card. But we've got Mr. Mikey Garcia is back in action at welterweight TBRB against Jesse Vargas.
Yes, he is. Now, this is interesting because if Mikey Garcia loses this fight, his reputation's kind of a bit in pieces as being a pound for pound, but he's certainly, I don't think we'll see him campaign or compete, but don't compare the two, at welterweight again. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. I think this is a tough fight because he didn't really look at all comfortable at welterweight when he fought Errol Spence.
No, but actually this time around he looks like he's maybe put weight on in a better way. It looks to be sitting on his body better, whereas it seemed like he just got a bit fat last time.
Yeah, he didn't look like he'd put it on properly at all. It looked like his frame didn't sort of carry the muscle properly. He's a very strong favourite with the bookies.
But is that because of name? Because Vargas isn't a bad fighter. I mean, he has lost to Tim Bradley Jr., Manny Pacquiao. He's had a couple he drew against like fucking Broner. But he's not a bad fighter, and he's used to campaigning at this weight. So, I don't know. I think if the Mikey Garcia that turned up last time round turns up, then I give it to Jesse Vargas, actually.
Just look at it. You get 4-1. You can find is the best odds.
Might be worth a punt, you know.
For 4-1, I'd like that. Vargas is not bad. He's like a fringe level kind of guy. I don't mind that at all.
At 4-1, I think actually, I'd stick a tenner on it. I think.
Yeah,
I'd stick a tenner on that 4-1. Absolutely, you know, because it's not like he's fighting a Diddy. It's not like this is a rebuild job where he's fighting a Diddy. You know. You know, like Mikey Garcia's 5'6". Jesse Vargas is 5'11".
Yeah, I like that.
He's a lot bigger. He's got a much bigger reach. He's given up a lot of size there.
Yeah, I like that. I like that 4-1. Interesting.
So we've got that, which is going to be interesting. We've got Khalid Yafai is in action as well against Roman Gonzalez.
This is a good fight.
It is really a good card, man. This is a great card. This actually, I really like this boy Khalid Yafai as well, man.
Yafai, yeah, he's good. Yeah. He's good go. And this fight, the bookies have this is almost a pick'em fight. Almost even money. I thought Gonzalez would be a favourite, to be honest. That's a great fight. That's a really interesting fight.
So there's that, and then back from the fucking the spider bite, we've got Mr. Joseph Parker. He is doing what can only be described as an extreme rebuild job of his career, right? And he is fighting a man named Shondell Terrell Winters. So. He has a very strong amateur pedigree with 2 fights at amateur level, with 1 loss and 1 win. I mean, he's not really fought anyone that anyone will have heard of. So this isn't like, I think this is an easy fight, which should be on paper for Parker. I think maybe like Matchroom or DAZN are trying to get him to knock someone out, so maybe he looks good against another heavyweight, perhaps. Yeah,
but I mean, it's a bit of a nonsense.
It's a fucking nonsense, man. It's total nonsense.
Fight someone decent. You just get back in amongst it.
I know, but you know, it is what it is, man. It is what it is. You know, I think maybe he's lost a bit of confidence, actually. Maybe.
We'll see. Also on the card, Julio Cesar Martinez versus Jay Harris. Now, this is supposed to be less even. Julio Cesar Martinez is a pretty high-level operator. Jay Harris is like he's undefeated. Good sort of up-and-coming talent, but the bookies at least are saying this is going to be a bridge too far for him. But it's a like that's a much more even-handed card. That's a much better card, you know, compared to the and like that's not a pay-per-view card. It's on DAZN. Okay, DAZN have got a bunch of money. It's on DAZN and Sky Sports in the UK, but DAZN have got a bunch of money, right enough. But like that's not a pay-per-view, and that card, like if you'd put some of those fights on the Fury, I know they wouldn't because of the different promoters and channels and so on. I'm not saying these exact fights, but look at the quality of the fights you've got here. Like that Yafai Gonzalez fight, for example, that's a great fight. That could, you know, something like that. It won't cost the earth, but a fight like that would have been a great fight to get as a part of the support act of a pay-per-view card. That's totally like pay-per-view card worthy.
Oh, totally, 100%.
So rather than the nonsense they put on it, so like, come on. Okay, rant over. But really good card. So if you're up in the middle of the night in the UK, or if you're lucky enough to have DAZN in the States, then very much worth a watch. keep you occupied for a good few hours. That will, but that's some high level stuff.
Indeed. Well, now let us move on quickly to some random news, because there has been some real big announcements very, very recently. Some fight announcements to look forward to, right? Big shit. Big shit going down. Now, literally today as we're recording, Progress back in action on the 17th of April versus Morris Hooker.
Nice.
It's a great fight. It's going to be on DAZN.
Yeah. I heard this was in the offing, but nice fight, really nice fight.
That is a nice fight. That is a nice fight. So we've got that to look forward to, and teased May 30th, Teofimo Lopez and Vasily Lomachenko.
Is that confirmed, or are you just?
They've both tweeted it. They've both just tweeted May 30th.
As good as done.
It's as good as done. But I think that's good. And the Tartan Tornado himself is back in action in Glasgow on the 2nd of May for his mandatory against Apinum Kangsong.
Nice.
I know.
And he is Sport.
Yeah. Well, he's on Top Rank now, isn't he? So I think they've got some sort of deal.
Of course.
And he's obviously partnered with the McGuigans, and he's now. Do you know who he's training with?
Yes, I've just looked at this just now. This is brand new news, no?
Yes, this is brand new news.
New news. Ben Davidson, your boy.
My boy Ben Davidson. I think that's a good shout for Josh Taylor, actually. I think that'll do well for him, actually. I think it's good that he moves on from the McGuigans. They always have a bit.
Well, it just wasn't sustainable, was it, after the whole debacle?
I know. And there's one last thing that is still maybe coming, right? Because of a hiccup. Okay? So it seems that Callum Smith and Canelo Alvarez are going to be fighting on May the 2nd, which is the Cinco de Mayo weekend, the weekend that Saul Alvarez always fights. And the reason why this is a thing is because AXS.com, which is like a ticketing site, accidentally posted a link for tickets to the bout.
What?
Yeah.
God, they're keen, are they? They're eager.
They are eager. So, a lot of people are saying that this is the thing, and Billy Joe Saunders is actually got he's got the hump about it.
Lovely lady humps.
No, I think all the humps. He's got front humps, back humps, side humps, because he thought he'd get this payday. I still think he needs to do the Andrade fight, to be honest with you.
Yeah, no, I agree.
It's unfinished business. Anyway,
I mean, it'll be interesting to see. I would be very keen to see. Is that when May this? Too soon, Ryan. It's too soon.
I know. I don't think you'll be able to get out of the house, will you?
Well, not if I want back in at some point.
Oh, but the thing is, though, you could go and visit the grandparents that weekend. That week, go visit the grandparents. Go, spend a little bit of time in Glasgow. Just maybe nip out for a few hours.
Oh dear.
You don't have to drink. You don't have to.
What are you talking about?
You don't have to drink. You could stay sober and drive there and back.
I've done it before.
It's alright, it's not bad. It's not too bad if the fights are good.
Yeah, that's fine. Not doing that.
Fair enough.
Joshua Pulev done deal for June 20th at Tottenham Stadium, says Hearn.
Tottenham in Tottenham.
It's hard to get excited about this anymore, is it?
It's nice. And do you know what? Like he's just so inactive. Fights once a year.
Twice a year.
Twice a year. Still, it's
twice a year. That's standard. Twice a year.
I want him fighting 3 times a year. I think that's fair. I think like you could, I don't know, like a March bout, summer bout, winter bout. I think that's fair. Be active, fight some people. You know?
Such a tough man to please.
Wow, it's just you never see him. You never see him fight.
True story.
It's true.
What else have we?
I don't know. I think. I mean, I don't have any more random news at the moment.
So Ryan, this week, can you tell me what's been grinding your gears?
You know what really grinds my gears?
I'm going to tell you what grinds my gears this week, Andy. Right?
Go on.
Now, look, I am not going to take anything away from Tyson Fury's win against Deontay Wilder. I think he's done great to kind of make this comeback. But I am sick and tired of everybody skimming over the fact that he was on a drug ban for 2 years. Right?
You're going to the well once
doing
more.
my fucking nut, man. I was doing my absolute nut, okay? There was a piece that was put on just ahead of the fight on the BBC, right? And it was talking about kind of Fury's background and stuff, right? And he says how he managed to get the first fight with Wilder in the first place, right? And he said he kidded Wilder's team into fighting him by implying that he was finished, having struggled with personal problems and weight gain, and taking a 30-month break from the sport after beating Vladimir Klitschko. No, you didn't take a break. You took an enforced break because you were fucking on a drugs ban, right? And they were talking about him as well, said he lost 3 titles outside of the ring, vacating them as he dealt with the issues he was facing.
Yeah, why are they glossing over it like that? That is bullshit. That is just factually inaccurate.
It's totally inaccurate. I don't know if maybe there's some sort of injunction. I don't know. It's the only thing I can think of.
You can't put an injunction on saying things that are matter of fact.
Well, you can though. I mean, Ryan Giggs did it, and so did Jeremy Clarkson, didn't they? And all those,
but not things that are public record.
Well, I suppose I don't know.
I mean, I'm not an expert in
injunctioning,
but injunction. I'm not an expert, but it's there. It's public record that he was banned, and that they came to an agreement as to what the length of his ban would be. That's it. It's not. It's not refutable because it's fact. It's there's actually no one questioning whether that's happened. So why is everyone rewriting history for him?
I know. Anyway, so that's what ground my gears this week, Andy. That's all.
Interesting. I know, I know you've gotten there a few times, but it's not cricket.
No, it's not.
It's not cricket what he did, so it's fine. It's fine. Should be brought to. We're the people that are still reminding. Let's not completely change what the narrative is, because he fought the good fight. He recovered from all his demons. Although I find it odd that he's had alcohol and drug addiction problems, yet he still talks about drinking lots and doing drugs.
Yeah, I know.
Either he's being very disrespectful to people that are properly suffered with addiction, or he's talking shit, or he never really had addiction per se problems. Because you can't turn it on and off, is my understanding of having addiction problems. It's not,
no.
You can't just go, oh, well, I'll just have one pint. You never hear about alcoholics just having one pint. You hear about them trying to have one pint and they end up in a ditch. So, like, is he magic as well as being good at boxing, where he can just have a sesh now and then that's him for however many months, despite the fact he was an alcoholic? I mean, what? Is this adding up?
No. So there we go.
Nice. I like it.
Right, Andy, do you want to tell me what ground your gears this week?
You know what really grinds my gears?
So I will tell you what grinds my gears. And this is in reference to something that I mentioned. I'm not expecting anything to get done about this or anything to change. But you know how I was saying that a big part of me thinks that, by the way, we never said what were our predictions for the fight.
Oh, you totally won, by the way. You actually said like a seventh round knockout. I'm pretty sure.
I think I said later. I think I said a late stoppage. I think I maybe said like round 9 or 10. Fury would stop him.
And I said points. I said
points.
Fury, yeah.
Okay, so for everyone that's following, broadly my predictions, then you're welcome for the payday. I think he was like 6-1 to stop him or something.
Yeah, it wouldn't be surprising. Yeah,
I think he was 6-1. It was. Mm-hmm. So anyway, I should have put a bet on. I didn't put a bet on it. Anyway, sorry, that was a bit of a side. That wasn't what was grinding my gears. So what was grinding my gears was the strong suspicion that I have now that Wilder, despite being a champion for 11 defences, is kind of made of tinfoil. And the fact is that through the way the sanctioning bodies work, it's allowed him to stay champion basically while he's never been having to fight the best available fighter for 11 defences. So I think if you want people to, and this is, we talked about this before, but this is why, not maybe always as a spectator sport as we could probably attest, but like the MMA ones where the body has all the power, like UFC for example has all the power, they can go, well, you're the best, you're the next best, you two are going to fight, and they don't have any say in whether they do it or not. They're just like, yeah, okay, well, we've got to kind of agree to it. And then like, okay, we beat him. The next guy who's the best is this guy. You got to fight him next. So none of this like getting pass after pass after pass. They need to change it. So the whole thing needs to be revised. I know this is never going to happen, but to revise it so that a higher proportion of the fights are the ones that people want to see. They need to try and do something like that, because the fact is that we didn't really know until this fight, however many years into his reign, like 5 years, whatever, into his heavyweight reign, whether or not whether he had any punch resistance, whether or not he was whether he could stand and trade with another world class fighter, and the answer was emphatically no. But we only found that out because this particular sequence of events came to pass, and until that point, he basically managed to be a champion for 11 fights or 10 fights without necessarily having fought anywhere close to the best available fighter, which is just an absolute nonsense. It's like waiting 10 years for a World Cup. You wouldn't wait 10 years for a World Cup, would you? So that's, I think the thoughts on the fight brought that into contrast. So I'm not saying anything will happen to change it. It won't. But how much more appealing would boxing be if you got the best versus the best as the standard, as the norm, rather than the exception?
I agree. I very much agree. Well, good. So, let us finish up for this week, guys. Please feel free to drop us an email at boxing.unwrapped@gmail.com or drop us a message on the Facebook page for anything you want us to cover next week. But with that in mind, it is goodbye from me, Ryan.
And goodbye from me, Andrew.